Thank you. I'm curious, as we are being asked to direct staff to design new infrastructure to support the E80 loading, are those designs going to include the trail in the design? Or are we talking strictly rail, or do we need to specify that here today?
You don't need to specify that today. As part of our project, we will look at what the optimal use of the alignment is and whether or not fitting a trail onto a rail bridge, like designing it for both modes at the same time for new infrastructure for specific is worthwhile. When you do a design for a railroad bridge, it's obviously a very hefty bridge because of the load rate, the loadings. Adding additional width to add a trail is basically just widening that bridge with the same loading scenario. So that is a detraction from that type of a scenario. We'll look at what the best is. Sometimes it's cheaper or more effective because of various reasons to build two separate bridges because of the loading differences are pretty extreme between the two different types.
Right. Okay. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to reiterate that the project is, and maybe we can bring up the map in the presentation. It's the length of the rail line and a portion of the southern section 13 through 18 of the trail. Our intent is to deal with both of them. And so there may be situations where they're on the same bridge, they're different bridges, but if we decide that for some reason we have an existing bridge and that's fine for freight, we're not just going to forget about the trails together. Yep. I mean, even if they're not on the same alignment, we recognize that the project is that whole section of trail, and we have to figure out how we do it at these different bridges.
Got it. And then I have a separate question, just to make sure my understanding is correct. Part of the reason we're being asked to approve the industry standard of Cooper E80 is that there are state and federal grants to basically connect our rail line to statewide and national networks, and those would not be available if we decided to cut costs and have it at a lower rating. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Thank you for the question. Basically, we want to set ourselves up for success. It's not that we would not be successful in getting those grants. We don't actually know, but we're trying to keep our options open. And by aligning our approach for this project with what's envisioned in the state rail plan, it gives us a better shot at obtaining grants from the state as well as the feds.
And part of that conversation is goes back to what type of service we're going to be providing on the rail line, and aligning with the state rail plan at this time requires it to be intercity rail connections. So our service would be able to provide that, and setting ourselves up for success, as Sarah said, with a Cooper E80 design load for the new infrastructure, just keeps all those options on the table.
So most likely, or it's of the opinion that it's a high probability that by cutting costs and having it less than E80 would outweigh the benefit of having E80 because we would have a higher probability of obtaining grants.
Correct.
Thank you.
Additional commissioner questions, comments, or questions at this time, I guess?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a necessary project that we have to go through and find out. But I just want to make sure, following up on this discussion, we make clear if we don't have the rail trail, the trail right alongside, there's a clear definition. I'm sure there would be, but specifically, we really need to know if there's not a trail along with this rail line, where is it and how does it accommodate the trail aspect of this rail trail project?
Completely agree, sir.
Yes, go ahead. Commissioner Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. There's to make sure I understand correctly, there's a lot of replace labels on there. So basically, if we're going to design for a train, we've got to get rid of pretty much all the historic timber trestles, and such as Aptos Creek, Capitola Trestle, Hidden Beach Trestle, and replace them with concrete. Is that correct?
We wouldn't have to necessarily replace them with concrete. They're steel or concrete, but many of those bridges on there would not be supporting passenger rail service, as is shown on the list.
Right. Okay. Steel or concrete, but yep, timber trestles go. Which actually, maybe it's an opportunity. I mean, Aptos, so far we've been looking at train concepts with 2 bridges there. I mean, are we potentially going to have a different opportunity for segment 12 of the rail trail, where we just have one rail and bike pedestrian bridge combined?
So this project specifically doesn't look at the segment 12. So that's the other project that's being delivered by the RTC.
I could answer this one.
Pass it over to
We are well into final design for that project. So in order to go back, we'd have to amend our consultant contract and do some rework. So we're at this point staying the course of having 2 separate bridges.
Okay, thanks.
Further commissioner questions? Okay, I have a couple. So I just want to clarify that having a E80 rating is not in conflict with value engineering. Correct. Great. Thank you. And then the structures inventory says preliminary across the back. So I'm assuming this will return to us at a later date with some updates and additional information.
Yeah, as things get refined, we'll come back with updates.
Great, thank you. And so then I appreciate Commissioner Koenig asking this question, because I think there is a myth in the community that all of these timber trestles are going to be placed with concrete overpasses. And I appreciate that the steel trestles look very similar in a lot of cases to the timber trestles. And so I know that with our Aptos bridge, we did kind of a design study with the community. So will we have similar community outreach in designing these replacements?
I think we will. That'll be as we go further into the next stage of the projects, not during this project concept, but the RTC is very interested in public engagement,
Absolutely.
As is the commission.
Great. Okay. I think that was it for me. Thank you. All right. Seeing no further questions from the commission, we will bring this now to public comment.